Greetings! Welcome to the Dracovin Empire! Are you ready to dive back into the worlds of Magic the Gathering today? We're going to be going back in time once more. Yes, it's time to continue our series on the history of Magic the Gathering, its various products, what was released, the cards that are in them, while you might be interested in cards from these products, whether they're new, reprints, or otherwise. Today, we'll be diving back into another one of the Duel Decks Series, the 7th one, Knight's First Dragon. I am your host and guide here, Dracovin, who's going to be opening the gateway through the blind eternities to the worlds of Magic the Gathering, where we can see what's going on with this product, and I'll lead you there. But do remember to at least leave a little bit of a tip there, like subscribing the bell over on the YouTube side of things as soon as you can, and let me know if you own this product, or are interested in it now, or cards from it, after today's video. Alright. The portal's open. Blind Eternities await. Magic the Gathering awaits. Dominaria, Alara, Bayon. My hand is outstretched. Grab it. We're going. Right. It's time to learn all about Duel Decks. Knight's First Dragons. I do like it's got like a Duel Decks just sounds like a cool title. I mean, its marketing is very good. Knight's First Dragon, though, was the 7th of all the Duel Decks released. Its release was actually on an interesting date, April 1st, 2011. Released on April Fool's Day. It wasn't an April Fool's joke. Its MSRP was $19.99, so $20 for these two decks combined. Pretty good little price here for you to go by, to start out with. Now here's the symbol. Its designers were Chris Millar and Zach Hill, and those were the two that also developed it. It was focused on multiversal, so multiple planes, though there was a lot of Alara and Dominaria in it. It was 120 cards, because it was two 60-card themes decks. And it was DDG for expansion code. Very interesting, because it was the Duel Decks G, which was known for. Now there's a picture of the product as it was. And as I said, two pre-constructed theme decks. One was centered around knights, the other dragons. It was pretty open about that. So it was very tribal, one creature type themed, and a lot of the way they were trying to do about it was knights hunting down dragons as the themes, you know, very mythological, historic, things that kind of match with a lot of our history in a lot of ways. We do have that kind of stories that were told. So there were two alternate art holographic foil treatment cards that were in here. The first one was the Knight of the Reliquary, shown here. You could +1/+1 from each land in your graveyard. You could sacrifice Forest or Plains to search for a land card in the battlefield. So it was a good way to get out your special lands using one of these. You know, better special lands, special abilities, get them out. Get card lands in your graveyard, that's boosting. The other one for Dragon, that was for the Knight deck. For the Dragon deck, the alternate art holographic was, of course, Bogard and Helicite. A flying flash 5/5 that enters, it does 5 damage among any number of target creatures or players. So it's kind of like a sudden nuke you can bring out at any time. Now these weren't the only cards with alternate art. There were also 4 other cards that had new art as of this time. Again, this art on these cards may appear on other cards since here, but this is the first time the art on these cards appears, basically. And some of the art on some of these cards only appeared in like promos and stuff before now appearing in these sets. I'm going to tell you that also. So Luxodon Warhammer here, which gave something +3/+0 trample and lifelink, was new art here. We also had Silver Knight, who had new art. A first strike protection from red. All about slaying dragons with a little quote that's on there. Punishing Fire, showing off some dragons. Doing 2 damage to creature or player. And when our opponent gains life, you may pay a red for from your graveyard to a hand. Cards like this aren't necessarily bad in this pair of decks, because, hey, the Knight's deck can possibly gain some life, but it's one of those points in time where I'm like, how to remember this first if I'm editing the deck at all. You're not just going to be paying this one. These are Knights versus Dragons, are really good to fight each other, but if you're using them outside of that context, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The final card with alternate art was Seething Song, where for 3 mana, you get 5. It's kind of like a red version of something like a Dark Ritual, except this is, you know, Dark Ritual is 1 black for 3, that gives you 3 black. This 1 colorless, 2 colorless, 1 red for fly of red. There was also a token in this set. But that wasn't the only part of that kind of product. There was a Learn to Play guide, a strategy insert, and then 2 of these tokens here, 1/1 Goblin creature tokens that were made with Dragon Fodder card. So, this was the only tokens that were created. Now, other than Knight of Reliquary, there were, and of course, Luxon Warhammer, which I showed off here, there were a number of other rares that were part of the Knight deck. We can talk about that. Kinsman Cavalier here, it gives all your Knights double strike. Yeah, pretty good one, that. Knight Exemplar, a 2/2 first strike that other Knight creatures you control have +1/+1 indestructible. You have 2 of them, they protect each other. My white deck that I currently have as my legacy deck started out as a Knight deck, and I built it as a this card. I got this when it was originally printed and decided to get it there. Knight of the White Orchid is another one of the rares. First strike, when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands, you search for a plane to put in the battlefield. Show up your library. And then, of course, a green-white Not Veil Paladin. This is what it was, a green-white deck that the Knight deck was. It wasn't just a red. I know, shocking, it had a little bit of green in there, too. Mostly white, a little bit of green. Dragon deck is pure red. But anyway, when it attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each untapped creature you control. So it's a good, like, if you attack alone, it gets a little bit. And, of course, I mentioned Luxon Warhammer, but I'm showing off here. Some non-rares that were interesting in the deck. We had Treetop Village, Passer of green mana, to become a 3/3 green ape, still a land until end of turn. Wilt Leaf Cavaliers, it's just a 3/4 vigilance for 3 mana. Being green and white, you just need 3 mana. In this case, like, it's green or white for any of these. Makes it pretty easy to do. Spider Silk Armor, a favorite of mine, giving all your creatures +1/+0 and reach. A classic card in this team here. Very good anti-dragon in this case, but also very good in anything else. And of course, Oblivion Ring. The art here is actually promo art. That this is the first non-promo version of it that's getting this art treatment. So it does look like new art if you compare it to other Oblivion Rings, but was printed before here. When Oblivion enters, exile a non-land permanent, another one, and if Oblivion Ring leaves the battlefield, you return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Basically, you get rid of a card as long as Oblivion Rings are in play. Red and dragons don't tend to destroy enchantments, so the chances of it going away are not nil, but not great. So there's your good look at the Knight deck and kind of how to play that. Let's take a look at the Dragon deck a little bit here. And beyond our Bullgarden Helicite, we talked about that one, our holographic foil, we have Kinsmouth Dragon here. It is a flying dragon that taps deal number of damage with the +1/+1 counters on it, but it also has Amplify 3. When there's a battlefield, you put a +1/+1, 3 +1/+1 counters on it for each dragon you reveal in your hand. So you play this dragon first before you play other dragons in your hand. You reveal a bunch of others, it gets a bunch of +1/+1 counters, and it taps deal number of damage equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it. I mean, just one dragon revealed, other than this, makes it an 8/8 that taps deal 3 damage, let alone if you have a couple dragons. Kinsmouth can be pretty good, in the right circumstances. Warden Dragon, a flying that for 1 colorless, 1 red, gets +1/+1 until end turn, and when it deals combat damage to a player, it can also deal that much damage to target creature that player controls. Fly over, hit the player, hit one of its creatures. Shivan Helicite. This is another one that I do like a lot. It's a flying 5/5 and for 1 colorless, 1 red. It deals 1 damage to a target. If you have a lot of mana, you can just ping the crap out of things with Shivan Helicite. I used this a lot back in the day. It's one I also do find very fun. Thunder Dragon. Flying, when it enters the battlefield, does 3 damage to each creature without flying. This is a big anti-dragon. Now, granted, this deck will have some non-flying creatures, but, like, you know, especially you're going against a Knight deck, primarily, if you're going against that, you're nuking the Knights. And also Voracious Dragon, flying with Devour 1, which Devour is, when it enters the battlefield, you sacrifice any number of creatures. For each one that you sacrifice, it gets that many +1/+1 counters, in this case, 1. So, Sacrifice 1 creature, it gets 1/1/1 counter. 2 creatures, 2/1/1 counters. Higher number of Devour do exist. But anyway, when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to twice the number of goblins it devour. Hey, that, remember we mentioned the spell earlier, the Dragon Fodder? That's where it comes in. Plus also some other possible dragons. Or goblins these dragons can nom on. Voracious Dragon. Non-rares that were in this deck. Dragon Speaker Song. Dragon spells cost 2 less to play. It's a classic in a dragon tribal deck. A dragon just group deck. Another good one was Bloodmark Mentor. Gives red creatures you control first strike. Yeah, my dragons now also have first strike. Take that, knights. Ghost Flame is a fun one because it's colorless and it deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Yeah, it being colorless doesn't come up a lot is very important. There's certain things that are protection from colors or certain things like red. This could be important. It feels like something that's a little bit more sideboardy nowadays. But yeah, it's in the deck at this point. There's, of course, the aforementioned Dragon Fodder. Hey, we talked about it. We talked about the tokens. I had to include it in here to talk about it. Puts 2/1/1 red goblins in the tokens in the battlefield. That's how many they can create. But, yeah. There's Knights vs. Dragons. A good look at both of them. The two decks are very interesting, and they do play against each other pretty decent. This is another one of the dual decks that I did own. This is during the time period I was buying a bunch of Magic products, and I did buy this one, too. Is it the greatest set of decks? Yes and no. I'm going to say these decks on their own do play off each other very well. But really, like many pre-constructed decks, they need work to be played and anything a little bit more competitive. Like, if I was going to play with friends who built their own decks, I definitely want to edit these a little bit. There are definitely cards I can point out in here that are probably ones I want to remove. Or the cards that I want to add. Things that make more goblin tokens. Other types of rare knights. Removing some of the decent middle-class knights. There's a lot of both green and white knights that are out there that could play off of that. Hey, the second Knight Exemplar I mentioned. Have them protect each other. There's a lot of stuff like that. And maybe even fixing up the mana base a little bit. They aren't bad decks, and any stretch of the They can probably use a little bit of work, sure, but they do play off each other interesting ways, and pretty well. A quicker Knight deck to get in there and hit hard, and then a slower Dragon deck to kind of fill out things and kind of hit back, and have big creatures. Maybe kind of cheat them into various ways. There's some interesting ideas here that are explored in the Duel Decks Series. And I do like the Duel Decks Series shows off these types of cards and these types of decks. These are a type of deck we play. Remember, I said I made a Knight deck before this one. The Knight Exemplar inspired me to make that. I already had owned a Kinsbane Cavalier that I had purchased when I got back into Magic. I built it without a lot of these with other knights that I felt were good at the time. My white deck still has a few knights in it, not much as it used to. But it basically, this is inspiring you in types of decks. Tribal, group decks, one specific decks. Whether it's knights, dragons, Vioshino, elementals, elves, dwarves, goblins, merfolk, spirits, zombies, you name vampires, you name it. Basically, if it's a creature type, you can make a deck that's based around it. Most of the time. So having two, giving you an idea how these types of decks work, is good. Alright. We'll leave that there. I hope you did enjoy diving into Knights vs. Dragons. The Duel Decks Series is a very interesting one. As the kind of thing I've talked about, there are a lot of very interesting ones here. We kind of dive around, and many of these do have like tribal themes like this one, but there is still a lot of them to talk about. We are only 7 in, and there are maybe like a third of the way through. There's like 21 of them, I think, total. So there was a lot of them, and we will talk about more of them in the future, certainly speaking. And I do hope that you'll enjoy the, tour through them with me. This series of products went until 2018. We're only in 2011 now. You know how long? That's a quite amount of time. It was a long-standing series. Anyway, yeah. Hope you enjoyed. And make sure to check out all the rest of my stuff. I have to remember to shout that out. That's either up on Twitch or over on YouTube. Twitch is basically recording a lot of tabletop-related stuff. Some variety gaming with friends if you want to check out and hang out during that time. Chat during in between recordings. I have live plays of TTRPGs. Nightfall of Abenswell is starting up soon, around the time of this episode's recording. Make sure to check out that one as the new one. But any of the old ones also work too. Discussing Tabletop Saturdays at 6. That's when we talk about news of the week, deeper discussion topics, all the tabletop world. Of course, everything tabletop, whether it's on Twitch or otherwise, ends up on YouTube. All the gaming stuff does not. So if you just want to say for the tabletop stuff, hang around the YouTube side, but always check me out. Social media, Discord, Blue Sky, Twitter/X. Those are the places that you can kind of get an idea of what's going on with the schedule, updates, all those kind of things. So make sure to check those out too. Alright, everybody. I'm going to hang out with Twitch chat, maybe do another video, maybe we'll do some gaming. We'll see. And until next time, we dive into another product of Magic the Gathering, whether Duel Deck or otherwise. I think about their a deep and wonderful farewell.